What's up, guys? We are taking a look at another Mythic Legions figure, probably the last one I have coming for a while, I think. This is another one of the Coliseum figures, and it is a doozy. So we've got Brontus, the arena troll. He's so big I can barely keep him in frame. So you can see he's a big window box. We got the logo on the front. We got some write-up on Mythic Legions on the side. We've got his bio on the other side, and then the back has that standard kind of Mythic Legions artwork that we see on pretty much all the packaging. So let's not waste any time and pull this big guy out and take a look. All right, guys, so here is Brontus, the arena troll, out of the packaging, and this thing, like I said, is just absolutely enormous. The scale of this figure is pretty wild. He's just humongous, and we're going to take a look at all the normal stuff. He's actually very, very tightly compacted into my review space. He's just that bulky, but I really am excited to take a look at this figure. And after this review, if you guys are interested in checking one of these out for yourself, you can pick him up at Big Bad Toy Store. I will put a link down in the description directly to his product page so you can check him out. But we're going to do articulation first, and then we'll take a look at sculpt and paint, and then we will check out his accessories. All right, so as far as articulation goes, this is the area where I feel like he is definitely the most limited, and I don't really feel like it. It's just the way it is. He is limited in articulation, just so they could put him in the sculpt and pose that they want him to be. Obviously, it's a bigger figure. The way it usually goes is that they are going to be less articulated. It's not an excuse, it's just kind of the way it goes for the most part. So we've got a ball jointed head, and it can move around side to side. It can spin. He can look straight forward pretty much, and then he can look down a decent bit. The arms are ratcheted. I'm sure you heard that. You can rotate them. We've got ratcheted elbow joints. They have rotation, and then we have a rotating wrist as well. So there is some movement capability in those arms, but these are some huge tree trunk arms. He does have a waist twist, but it's pretty minimal. You can see he's basically just sort of shimmying from side to side. The legs can move, but they only swivel at the thigh, and then we do have ball jointed ankles, so he has a very little bit of rocker, and then you have rotation. So he's mostly, in terms of his stature and overall pose, you're supposed to have him just sort of hunched over like that. That's basically his shtick. That's what he does. He's sculpted in such a way that you want him to be hulked over like that, and that's just how he works. So most of his articulation is going to lie in the arms to give him a little bit more expressive mobility in terms of, you know, swinging this giant club around or picking up another character, because that's definitely a possibility. But you're not going to get him in any kind of real running pose or anything like that. At least I haven't found a way to do it effectively, because he doesn't have any knee joints and he only really swivels, so you might have him posed on his toes or something like that. But in general, I think he has basically what I expected to get out of a figure of this size. And he's not really unstable because of that, and I was worried that he might be too articulated and then fall over from time to time. But he is incredibly stable, which is a good thing, but it's kind of a take it or leave it. You either get more articulation and maybe less stability, or less articulation and this, you know, enormous multi-pound weighing troll stands firmly on his feet. So I'm okay with him not falling over and breaking my other toys. Where this guy really shines, and I don't think I need to say it, is the sculpt and the paint work. It's a Horsemen Studios. You know this guy is going to be beyond detailed, and they have done an amazing, amazing job with this figure. So as far as the overall package goes, let me give you an idea of just how big he is. And this is just, you know, your standard 6-inch figure we're using for comparison. So here's Bosk from Black Series. Look at the size difference here. It is a humongous piece of plastic that we're talking about. Brontus is absolutely massive. It's like I've said a couple times already, this thing is far bigger than I had anticipated it being, despite the fact that I knew he was 10-ish, 11 inches tall. He just has a ton of bulk to him. And you can see there is sculpted detail all over the arms. He's got these little nasty spikes coming out of him. He's got all of this stuff on the back here, whatever you want to call that. All these scales that are all over him. He's got, of course, the sculpted belt. We do have the faux fur with the faux leather straps. He's got kind of a diaper thing going on under here. I don't really care for that too much. I understand kind of what it is, but the straps on mine are kind of wonky from being in the box, so I'm just kind of getting those worked out to cover that. But he looks just absolutely crazy when you go into detail onto what they did to sculpt everything about this guy. He's got gnarled, nasty looking toenails. He's got all these, calloused looking feet. We've got the belt buckle there. We've got obviously more of that fur on the front. And then everything else is just kind of riddled with wrinkles or scales or craggy textures. It's just fantastic. That's really the only way to describe it. In terms of the look and feel of this figure, it is second to none as far as I'm concerned. It looks exactly like what you might think a humongous, hulking, one-eyed Cyclops troll looks like. And speaking of one-eyed, that's clearly a defining characteristic for this figure, and that head sculpt is absolutely amazing. You've got these huge pointed ears sticking out. We have got the incredibly wrinkled and focused face. Everything obviously is drawn to this eye. It's a glossy blue, it's like cerulean kind of blue with a dark black pupil in there, and I think it's just expertly painted. It looks fantastic. The figure itself, he's got kind of a post-nasal drip going on. You can tell he's kind of just slovenly, nasty beast, so there's kind of a gloss coming out of the nose to make it look like he's drooling. He's, got snot running down his mouth, so he just looks even more kind of disgusting and gross just because they added that little sheen to the figure. It's those little details, that type of attention that is paid to these toys that makes these things kind of be a step above. That said, it's a humongous hulking troll, and they just did a fantastic job with everything to sculpt him and paint him and make him look, exactly what you might think this type of beast looks like. Now, as far as accessories goes, we have got two big accessories for this guy. The first of which you've obviously seen throughout this video so far because he's been holding it, but this is his club, his mace, and this is a humongous accessory. Here's Bosk again for scale, just because I've got him handy. It's just huge. It's actually taller than Brontus himself, depending on how you've got him posed, but when he's standing up normally, hunched over, it's taller. It's a big skull with a spike driven through it. You've got some patinaed metal here, and then the base of the handle is a tree trunk. It comes apart. There's multiple pieces here. You can pop it apart. It's kind of unstable because of that. I haven't had too many problems with it, but it does seem to fall apart if you mess around with it way too much. So just keep that in mind. But the coolest factor for this weapon is just kind of through the roof for me. A big impaled skull as a weapon. The skull itself is incredibly detailed. You can see all those cracks and crevices, all the paintwork on there, and this skull is I believe, I don't have any of the other trolls personally, but I believe that this is supposed to represent the skull of a stone troll from Mythic Legions. So it's another skull for one of their other trolls. So that tells you just how awesome Brontus is if he is using the skull for another troll as his own personal weapon. And then the last accessory that we've got, the second of two, is one that you may or may not use. It's fun for taking pictures with. I'm not sure it's going to be integral to my display with this guy, but we've got this big chain. And it's a real metal chain, too. So, another one of those things that definitely something the Four Horsemen would give you is a real metal chain. So you pop this guy on his head, around his neck, and you can have, somebody else in your Mythic Legions lineup kind of leading him into battle. I've taken pictures of Rhaegor holding onto this end of the chain, walking Brontus into the arena, for example. So I think that's really cool. It's about 1.5 feet long, I think, give or take, and it's fully real metal. It's got some heft to it. It's actually very, very heavy for what it is. So it's not going to fall apart. It's not going to break. Definitely looks like something you might see around an arena troll's neck. So another little thing that they've included to make the package a little bit sweeter, and a very cool idea, especially for when you're taking action figure pictures. So at the end of the day, my only real gripes with this figure, and I'm not sure I even consider them gripes, are that he has a lack of articulation. I kind of knew going into this that, yeah, he's probably going to be less articulated than your average figure just because of what he is. He's humongous. He's got a lot of extra bulk. It just kind of, goes with the territory. Some huge figures are ultra articulated, some are not, and this is just one of those instances where he's not. I'm not sure I'm upset about that, though. It doesn't truly bother me. I've been able to get him into some good poses, take some cool pictures with him, so that's really all that matters to me, is that I can do with him what I want, and I'm not having an issue because of that lack of articulation. He looks absolutely amazing, and that's really where this figure shines. He is an amazing figure to look at. Tons of detail, tons of paintwork, and I mean, just the cool factor alone of all of the detail that he has, the accessory that he comes with, being able to lead him into battle with that chain. It's all very cool, very fun, and it'll add a lot of detail to your Mythic Legion setup by having something that's so much bigger than the rest of your figures, but still very much fits in with them at the same time. So I'm a big fan of this guy. As you found out, I'm pretty much head over heels for Mythic Legions at this point. So I would urge you to take a look at them if you haven't already. So that's going to do it for this look at Brontus the Arena Troll from Mythic Legions. Let me know what you guys think, and until next time.